What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JT and welcome back to another episode of South Stand Signings. And boy, we have got a lot to talk about today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into the meat of the action. And the first story surrounding Leeds United is that Leeds have just had a little briefing with the Premier League around the new VAR and goalkeepers rules around time wasting. They had a meeting recently to discuss this, and boy, does it feel good to read this stuff, because we have been languishing around a league where the VAR doesn't even exist. So it's good to just be in the conversation with these big clubs, and it's starting to feel like we are back in the rhythm and back in the rhyme, and hopefully going to sign some big players to bolster us up even further into European football. Now, the main man we have been discussing is Igor Paixão, who actually came out yesterday with a very interesting little Instagram picture. Let me see if I can find it for you here. Here it is, yeah. Igor Paixão came out today, or yesterday, last night, sorry, and reposted a little Instagram story from an account named footy010_, saying, Igor Paixão, please stay. Now, what is this? Is this confirming the fact that he wants to stay at Feyenoord? We've seen a similar situation with a former player from the Dutch league in Sinistero doing something similar to Leeds and then sodding off the next day. So you can't really read too much into this, but maybe his mind is opening to the possibility that he might be staying at Feyenoord. Now, the latest updates around this are coming by way of quite a few sources. There's a lot of Dutch publications reporting that Igor Paixão is potentially happy to stay at Feyenoord. Maybe he's waiting for another European club to come in for him. Marseille, obviously, with their European football, were a big draw for him. However, it is seeming very, very unlikely that that is going to happen. Not only are Leeds willing to go higher than the Liga and outfit, but Marseille's final offer is at a standstill, which is why they claim that he is more likely to stay at Feyenoord than either move to Leeds or Marseille, because neither Leeds or Marseille have actually slapped that £30 million bid down that Feyenoord leads. Now, Graham Smith came out saying the latest that we are hearing on Igor Paixão is that a deal has not been struck between Feyenoord and Marseille. Despite all the noise that came out of France about them being close to agreeing the deal, Smith told the YEP's Inside Ellen Road podcast out in Germany, we spoke to someone in Holland this morning who said that as far as they were aware, a deal had not been struck and it was not imminent. Leeds still evidently believe there is a player to chase and will continue to chase until there isn't one to chase. But it is interesting that Marseille have not got a deal over the line yet. It is understandable Leeds fans are excited about this one, and everyone will be hoping that Marseille thing stops and goes away. Now, there are other reports suggesting that with the Marseille deal at a standstill, it is opening the door for Leeds, and if Leeds can hit that £30 million valuation, that the deal will be done, and there is no other noise surrounding Igor Paixão at the moment aside from Leeds United. Will he stay? Will he go? It is really turning into a bit of a Rodrigo de Paul situation, this one, circa 3 or 4 years ago, back when we were in the Premier League that time. And it's just one of those ones that the more it goes on, the less you believe he is going to be a Leeds player, because Leeds seem to get these deals wrapped up very quickly. And when you start hearing these conflicting stories and reports, it never seems to work out well for Leeds, does it? It just doesn't seem to work out well for us. But we will have to wait and see on this one. It does seem positive that Marseille are out of the deal, but will Leeds put that in there? I don't know, because there are other reports suggesting that Leeds are actually looking at other targets if this one isn't to go ahead, and we're still keeping our doors open. And it is attackers that Leeds are looking at now, because there was another story that came out from Daniel Farke himself, someone speaking to him, saying that his transfer philosophy, which may have confused us early doors because we were sat there saying, let's get a striker, let's get a goalkeeper, let's get this stuff sorted first and foremost. Daniel Farke's philosophy in the transfer market this year was to address defence first, midfield first, and then focus on those two key positions we need, that striker and number 10. It's interesting that we haven't gone for a goalkeeper so early, considering the fact that this is potentially his approach. We saw us sign defenders first, and then we moved in for Longstaff and Statch moving up the pitch. So surely you would have started with a goalkeeper, which is the base position, which could lead me to believe the fact that Leeds are open to the idea idea of keeping Illan Meslier, because if we were starting from defence to attack, surely we would have gone further in the pursuit for him. Now, a big story that came out yesterday after Leeds' pre-season game was Matteo Joseph refusing to come on the pre-season tour over to Germany. A lot of people have had their opinions about this. You can see here Simon Jordan slammed him, talking about how he didn't like players downing tools over on TalkSport. Now, I think we need to sit here and have a little talk about this one, because this is an interesting one. Matteo Joseph has forever had the backing of Leeds fans from before he even stepped into the senior team. When he was banging in the under-21s, when he was banging in the youth system, fans have always given this guy more credit than a lot of people. Leeds fans have been very loyal to him, even when he was underperforming in the Championship. Even when I was critical of him, there was other Leeds fans giving me backlash, saying, you've got to support this guy, he's a young lad coming through. And the fact that he's done this has left a bitter taste in a lot of our mouths, because we have backed him. The club have given him a lot of game time. Farke has trusted him, and he's underperformed and let Farke down at times, and he's still trusted him. And if you've seen Farke's interview, which I'm sure you have, he looked very, very disappointed and dejected in the way that Matteo Joseph had handled the whole situation, especially coming a week after he had just told Patrick Bamford that your services are no longer required. Now, I believe that Leeds were already looking to sell Matteo Joseph anyway. We were trying to use his transfer valuation or the money we would get from his transfer fee to use that to invest into another striker. So I don't think this is impacting Leeds' strike force going forward, because usually you would have about 4 strikers for a Premier League campaign that would be vying for that spot. Currently, if we sign a striker, we'd have Nemetra as backup, Perot as backup, and then that 4th option, people may have thought it would be Matteo Joseph. For me, I think Harry Gray is being moulded into that 4th option striker that we do have. So I believe Harry Gray is going to take up the youth mantle from Matteo Joseph in there. But it does impact the club negatively, because him coming out and doing this and everything happening so publicly is going to massively decrease the money that we're going to get for him. So it's completely undermined the 49ers' whole philosophy in this whole thing. It's quite disrespectful to the club. Now, on a personal standpoint, if you want to go and you want to push for a move, I can't hold you back. If you want to get your agent out there to do it, it's obviously going to reduce the fee Leeds get for him, which is then going to allow whatever club he goes to offer higher wages for him. So on a personal standpoint, I accept it. He's a professional footballer. He's Spanish. He doesn't owe anything to Leeds, even though we have trusted him and have helped and developed his career. He doesn't owe anything to us, so I can't hate him on a personal level. I can't knock him. I wish him all the best. I'll never wish any man demise or misfortune, but it's very disappointing the way things gone down. I think they could have been handled differently. I think he could have come on the pre-season tour and still tried to say behind the scenes, listen, I'm looking for a move. Can you see what you can get for me? Can you potentially see if you can get a move over to Spain? But it is very disappointing, and I want to know what you guys think about this one. Are you as apathetic as me, or are you very, very disappointed in the situation that has happened? But there is more positive things on the horizon for Leeds United as we search for a striker. And it isn't just Igor Paixão that Marseille have flopped in the transfer market for. Marseille have still not managed to agree a move for Timothy Weah. And Leeds United and Everton are reportedly always lurking in the background. Now, Mirko Di Natale came out with a tweet that was very, very interesting to read. The agreement between the clubs for Timothy Weah has not been reached. The parties are still in contact, but there is some distance between them. Beyond the payment-related issue, which Marseille seem to be struggling with both deals now, another important issue to resolve is the price. Marseille have not come anywhere near Juve's €20 million demand, and Everton and Leeds are always in the background. And this is very interesting because even though Timothy Weah isn't someone who Leeds fans are too excited about, we're more potentially looking at Rodrigo Muniz, who's been the ongoing story. There is, of course, links to Gonçalo Garcia. There was Kristovic, who had stronger links to Leeds. It is interesting because the way the 49ers philosophy seems to be, even if we are hammering down one player, there are 2, 3, 4 other backup options that we are still progressing in. And this could be one which the 49ers are secretly plugging away in the background and waiting to see what happens with Rodrigo Muniz. And if that deal doesn't go through, we might go and push for him and Igor Paixão, not just Muniz, because of course Timothy Weah can play multiple positions across the front line. It isn't just the forward position he can play. As you can see from this little graph here, he's played 48 times in central forward position, 27 times off the left wing, and 46 times off the right wing, 33 times on the right midfield position, 6 times in the left midfield position, 9 times ironically at left back, and 19 times at right back. So he could offer a lot of versatility, especially because we don't have that many backup options at fullback as well. So it could be an interesting one, especially if Farke was to toy with the idea of a 3 at the back formation, which we've seen him do late in games before, and lump 5 or 6 strikers on the pitch. It does offer us a lot of versatility, this move. If we look at his stats, if we just narrow this down for the 24-25 campaign here, played 30 games in the Serie A last year, registering 5 goals and 3 assists in 1,600 minutes, 2,000 minutes total, 6 goals, 5 assists, and 5 yellow cards. Not the most impressive of stats. Of course, he's still not the oldest of players. He's only 25 years of age, so there are a few scopes for development. For me, it's more of a versatility option and a last choice option if we can't get some of these other deals done. But it is still one to look at and one to potentially get yourselves excited about moving forward. But let me know what you guys think. Is Timothy Weah one you would look at, or is it one you would be reluctant to take? Now, in other news, there are other forwards Leeds United could be potentially missing out on, or could have been looking at in the background. And one of them is that Borussia Dortmund have been moving in for Leeds United's apparent target, Facunto Buenanotte, who is the subject of interest from Borussia Dortmund, who have now made contact with Brighton as they seem to take him on the Bundesliga. Daniel Farke has apparently been looking at him as a potential option for Leeds United going forward. The 49ers have scouted him as an option for Leeds. However, it was very, very slight links, as we said. It could have been another one of those Weah situations that Leeds were waiting in the background for, but there is now a lot more complication for it, and it looks like Leeds might have to be in a bit of a bidding war for this one. So it could be another one that is off the table, but it is a story to dig our teeth into nonetheless. Now, another story around Leeds United forwards, they all seem to be coming thick and fast today, is Joe Gelhardt, who could have a way back into the Leeds United fold this summer after a loan spell at Hull City. The links for this are most likely because we've got rid of Bamford, and of course Matteo Joseph is now on his way out. But for me, a loan deal seems the most likely option for Joe Gelhardt. I don't see him really kicking on in the Premier League. Maybe, again, he's one of those freak players who just seems to perform better in the Prem because he did play better for Leeds in the Premier League than he did when we were in the Championship, for example. But again, it's another one of those situations where I think we loan him out. I don't really see him ever playing for Leeds again. I'd like him to get loaned out, reinvigorate himself, find some rock hot form, make his way back to Leeds United and end up being a stalwart in the side. But I don't see it happening, unfortunately. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do with Gelhardt? What would you do with him? Would you keep him around for an extra option? Would you loan him out, or would you try and sell him for £2-3 million and recoup a little bit of PSR updates? Now, another story which is a little bit more exciting is Emi Buendia, whose future at Aston Villa seems to be very, very, very short. He will be leaving. The Express and the Star have reiterated that Buendia is available to leave Villa Park this summer and that they do not want his services. They, of course, have loaned him out before and now want to get him out on a permanent basis. Daniel Farke is, of course, a huge admirer of Buendia. He's done good things for him. And given what has happened with the whole Matteo Joseph situation, maybe Daniel Farke is going to want to play it in that side who he trusts to perform well for him, and he trusts on a personal level as a man-to-man basis. Buendia said about Farke, one of the most important coaches in my career. He gave me a chance to join the club, of course. For me, it's the most important thing he gave me as a player. He gave me the confidence to be myself, to enjoy myself, and to be free on the pitch. And we've seen with Daniel Farke's man management style that with players like Daniel James, he can get the best out of these players who have had a troubling form before. He brings them in, he gets them into a system, he gets them to trust him, he gets them to run through brick walls for him, and he really improves improves their performances. And Buendia, who I know hasn't really set the world on light since moving over to Villa from Norwich, could still be an option for Leeds. As I said, I think he's a little bit too versatile. I don't think he's an out-and-out number 10 for me. I think he's slightly better off the wide from when I've seen him play. And maybe if we can't get Igor Paixão, Buendia could be another cheaper alternative we can go in for to allow us more money to splash on our striker and goalkeeper. And there is one more story circulating around today just to touch on at the end here, and it is around Patrick Bamford, who could be on his way over to Leicester City, potentially linking up with Illan Meslier, who could be on his way over there. However, these are very slight links and nothing to write home about right now. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below, though. For now, though, I will see you very, very soon. Au revoir, my brothers and my sisters.